Welcome to the Jazz Flyte Podcast. I'm your host, Darrell Scott, and together we will dive into the lives and careers of the jazz legends who have left a rhythmic imprint on the world. Be prepared to reminisce on the highs and the lows of their musical journey and the trials that sculpted their timeless musical gems. We'll preserve the legacy of these extraordinary maestros and find inspiration in the melodies of their lives. Subscribe now and never miss a beat. Now, let's get to the show. Hi there, I'm Darrell Scott. Welcome to the Jazz Flyte Podcast. You know, in the course of doing this career I've met an awful lot of artists, all different kinds of personalities and everything. In the few minutes that this man and I have talked, I understand that he has so much energy. It's crazy. And I think that that's great, especially when you talk to him, because we were talking earlier about this music can take you to different places, and generally it's a calm place and things like that. But every now and then you got to have some juice. You really do. And sometimes the juice needs to come from the performer. Ladies and gentlemen, and I'm going to hope I say this correctly because I have to look at his name to make sure I pronounce it. This is JJ Sansaverino. JJ, how you doing?
Darrell, you said that perfect, brother. I knew you were part Italian.
We'll talk about that later. I'm Sicilian.
I know, me too, Siciliano, provincia di Catania.
JJ, what I looked up, I opened up your page, your web page, and it says Benson meets Santana. I was curious. I need you to explain it to me. To what is that all about, and what does that mean?
Well, you know, the way I learned to play guitar was when we had these ancient artifacts called vinyl records. Sure, some of us remember these great things. And I used to put these Santana records on as a teenager on my turntable, and I would plug in my guitar. And as far as I was concerned, at that moment, the needle dropped onto the vinyl. I was in the band at that time. So I had to find my place so I didn't step on Carlos. I had to find my place so that I didn't just the groove and the chord. And then when there was that spot where I could take my solo, I was in the band. So that's how I learned how to play guitar. And it was very important because I learned to play by ear. And later on, I ended up learning the language of music, the writing, and the reading aspect, which is important. But so Santana's, that music was very important to me because it helped kind of molds a lot of my playing. Now, George Benson, I mean, what can you say about the GOAT? I don't care what anybody says, that's the GOAT. Now, we can say that Wes Montgomery was doing it first, and Wes Montgomery was insane. But Wes Montgomery didn't sing, did he?
No, that's right.
Yeah, and Charlie Christian and Django, I mean, these are the greatest of the greatest, but Benson just did something. He brought jazz and pop and sing. He did something nobody had ever done on guitar. And that was why over the years, since the 80s, when I really started to get into him, he became one of my favorites.
He is, and it's hard to believe, because don't get me wrong, I have a lot of George Benson CDs stuck over there, but still my favorite song is Affirmation. And I don't know why that is, but it's just like I can listen to that. How bad is it? 7 minutes and 1 second of music over and over and over again.
I play that song all the time. I do a lot of gigs that people don't know about, and they always ask me why I don't post them on my website, because there's too many to post on the website. I just want those ones when I'm coming to this city or that city, but all the time we'll be playing something like Never Can Say Goodbye by the Jacksons, and we'll go to Affirmation from there or something, you know. I like to play music. There's so much great music to play.
What got you started in music? Why, and I can say this, why do you have this passion for this music?
Music growing up for me was so important part of our everyday lifestyle culture, probably because on both sides, my mother and my father's side, there was musicians. Now, in New York City, there were no professional musicians. They were bus drivers, pool sharks, but everybody sang. Nobody played an instrument. Now, my mother's mother was an opera singer, and she was actually a Juilliard for a short time. My father's father was a very well-known singer in the Lower East Side of Manhattan. And then my uncles were all doo-wop singers. So, Sunday after Sunday supper, everybody, all the uncles start singing, you know, Still of the Night or whatever. And all these great, great songs. It's just so much music, music. And on the wall in the kitchen, there were three pictures: Jesus, Frank Sinatra, and Joe DiMaggio. You can't get more New York Italian than
That's
that.
true.
And because baseball, God, family, and music was everything. And so that's why it's so passionate. And I was the first one to play an instrument. And I just, I'm grateful. And it's still in my heart and all those great memories.
Other than Santana and Benson, do you have any other guitar influences or musical influences?
I got playing a gig the other day, and a guy says to me, "You love Prince, don't you?" I said, I love Prince because Prince, why I like Prince was a reason why I also liked Jimi Hendrix so much, because Prince and Jimi Hendrix were incredible rhythm guitar players, but they could blow some solos like never. So they had it all. They had the fills, they had the rhythm playing, they had the rock solos, they had the blues, they had it all. So I really love both of those guitar players. And but then I love the rhythm guitar players like Nile Rodgers, and the way his tone and the way he played, and those are some of my favorites.
How do you, and I've asked this question a lot. You have all these influences. How do you take Benson, Santana, now Rogers, Prince, and incorporate that into your style? I mean, if I said, can you give me a song that you're playing that I would hear Prince, that I would hear Nile Rodgers?
It's funny because I mentioned to you earlier when we were off record that I might do 60, 65 of my own quote unquote hard ticket JJ Sansaverino shows, but I do about 200 plus shows a year in general. I direct a wedding group for people that want to do weddings. I wrote a whole show for a disco review group that I'm a musical director in. I do an acoustic duo. I play with a funk bar band. I play with 25 years with Maxi Priest, reggae legend Maxi Priest. So there's so much genres of music we're continuously playing. Weddings in New York, we play a lot of Latin music. We play rock, 80s, 90s, hip hop, soul, Motown. So I'm constantly playing all genres of music, which is great because I love all genres of music. So when it comes to writing the music, you try to get a couple of really good down the pipe radio type joints,
Hmm.
But on the rest of the record, there's a little bit of everything. I got a song called To the Top, which is one of my records, which has got a Santana vibe to it, really got a Santana vibe. And some of the songs got a little bit of Benson vibe. Some have a little Motown, some have Italian, kind of the old Italian style song, a little bit of everything. If when you go to write, and when I go to write, if that's what's coming out and that's the vibe, amazing. I remember walking in the park, in Flushing Meadows Park in Queens, and there was a Latin band playing, and I was hung out for about an hour, came home and wrote a song called Esperanza, which had a real like salsa vibe to it, and that became a fan favorite. People loved that song. I think what's around you speaks to you, and then when you're engaged in what's speaking to you, you're feeling it, and then that transcends out of you into your music, into my music. So I think that's how it kind of happens.
You play so many different styles, so many different genres. When do you rehearse these? Or is it just natural? Or, I just go out, sit out, and I just play.
One of the most important things is just stills to practice, I believe, as an artist. And people say to me, well, let's say I'm hanging with Darrell Scott in Cleveland. You're like, let's have some lunch. I was like, well, I got to practice. I got to practice for about 90 minutes. Then I got to get a sound check. And Darrell Scott might say to me, what you got to practice for again? I'll tell Darrell Scott, these Olympians train to be champions. They train every day. Us musicians train every day to be champions in our own lane. So practicing is important. When I practice, it's more of things that I fumble over rather than the stuff that you know. Because when you're practicing the things that you know already and you're going, I don't know, that just sounds like an ego boost to yourself. You got to play the stuff as like, oh man, I messed that one up. Slow it down. Let me work on this. It's important to practice. Now, when it comes to playing with groups, the quality musicians that we work with, wherever it may be, a wedding or a JJ concert in Flint, Michigan, we send the music ahead of time and we expect these musicians to do their homework. Now, it seems like a lot of times these days, these cats are not doing the homework like they should. And we don't have like the level that I'm at right now, Darrell. I don't have that wonderful liberty that my friend Gerald Albright has, where he doesn't go anywhere without his own band. So, they know that inside, out, up, and down. So we got to get some of that practice in before a show at sound check. Get those beginnings, get those innings, those endings, and then we got the roadmap. What happens along the way, who knows sometimes.
Do you, this is horrible to say. So if you send the music ahead of time and somebody is not carrying their weight, let's say, do you confront them? Do you go, look, dude, you're not doing this, and this is what I need?
That's a great question. That is a great question. And I have some friends of mine that do it differently than I do. I try to keep a positive spirit into the room.
Mm-hmm.
So I think positivity makes the music flourish. Now, I have a lot of colleagues, friends, peers of mine that will say, will really confront them and bust their chops. And that's kind of gets them the lights of fire under their you know what. But when we got such short amount of time to make this happen, I believe it's important to keep a positive spirit in the atmosphere, a positive feeling, make sure everybody's comfortable. If there's something wrong, I'm like, oh, no, hold on. We got to do it like this. You missed that. Okay, do it again. Stop. You missed it. Do it again. Now, if we ain't getting it, you know what? We might not need that song later tonight. Let's do this other one. You know what I mean? So I kind of keep a few backup plans in my deck, but I try to keep it positive. But in my head, if I've worked with some cats who didn't bother, or if they read a book like this, and they just glanced over it, or if they read it page by page, we can tell. And those are the ones that I'll continue to call in the future.
Mm-hmm. It's funny how you were talking about that. I remember a quote from Usain Bolt. I trained 4 years for 10 seconds. It's like, wow. I never really looked at it that way, but that's what it is. So all of your rehearsal time, all of your practice time is for a 90-minute show. And
Yeah.
you might have rehearsed and practiced for whenever.
And I do a lot of gigs, Darrell, where I'll play some restaurants around Manhattan where I just bring my computer and I'll play with my backing tracks. And the reason why I do this is for three reasons. One, because I love to play. And if that's the budget they have to pay me and I can't bring the band, I'm going to do it. Number two, when I have my computer, I don't have to worry about the band knowing the song or not.
Right. Yeah.
Please the MP3. Yeah. And I can play whatever I feel like playing, whether it's Frank Sinatra, whether it's Bob Marley, whether it's LTD, whether it's Dua Lipa. I got it. And there's young people, I'll play Billie Eilish, Chappell Roan. If it's older, I'll play the Beatles. I'll play whatever. So it keeps me on my toes of learning music and continuously learning lots of music that people, if they request it and I don't know it, I make sure I learn it because that's a song I don't know. Third reason, when I play these track shows, I'll play 3 to 4 hours without stopping, no break. Right. That's training so that playing that my hands are strong and there's nobody, the keyboard player can say you solo or the sax player you solo. It's me.
Right. Yeah.
Hours. So it forces me to continuously look for interesting ideas so that my playing doesn't get boring to me or to the audience, but also keeps my strength up so that when I do a 90-minute set, it's a piece of cake, you know?
Hmm. So you've got new music out with a good friend of ours, good friend of the show, Lynn Roundtree.
Oh, yeah.
Tell me about it. It's called Keep Your Head Up. Tell me about it.
Well, a few of my last radio singles I put out, a couple of them I took a few risks on, and I'm not sorry that I did them because I was trying to be a little bit more one way or the other than down the pipe. And some of them didn't pick up on watercolors or chart where I wanted them to. So that's always disappointing because the more guys like you that are playing the music, the more people that it reaches and the more love that we spread. So when I was said I want to really put something special this next radio single, something down the pipe that is going to be up, that's going to be positive, not too sleepy and chill out, and I want something that's fun, but that I'm not reinventing the wheel. And I just sat down and said, I want this to be a little more up tempo. So I messed with these chords, put the click on, and the song just came in a few hours. God gave me a blessing. And then when I got done with the production of it, I said, I don't really feel like the big horn section all over this song. I had the drums, the percussion, the bass, Shawn Michael Ray with the funk on the bass, and there was a lot going on. I didn't feel like, I said, this is a trumpet song. And it's like, no, who am I going to? I said, you know what? Let me get a name guy with me because I don't feature guys that often.
Hmm.
I was like, well, Rick Braun is amazing, but I don't really roll with Rick. And I said, Lynn Roundtree is amazing, and that's my guy. So I gave Lynn a call. I said, hey, Lynn, I got a song I want you to feature on with me. What do you think? He goes, it's about time. That's what I said. Love that. It's so funny. And I sent him the track and he played on it and he sent it back. And I was like, bro, that is off the hook. He goes, oh, no, I got to touch it up a little bit. So you got to touch it up. I'm not stepping on your toes. Touch it up. It was already there. When he sent it back, it was even on another level. And I didn't really have to edit anything. It just sat right in the pocket. And I'm so glad I did that because you don't miss the horn section. I love trumpet. Miles Davis is one of my all-time favorite guys. And one of the things I like about Lynn is Lynn plays some beautiful stuff, and he's not afraid to take his time and play a lot of longer notes like Miles would do. I'm sure Miles was a big influence on him. So I'm really excited about it. It's a fun song.
Good. Let's take a listen to it. Here's Keep Your Head Up on the Jazz Flyte Podcast with our guest, JJ Sansaverino. Welcome back to Jazz Flyte. That's JJ Sansaverino. That was Keep Your Head Up. Dude, that's a good tune. I like Lynn. And the other thing about Lynn and I, as I get ready to interview him, he says, well, I'm not going to be late. I go, why? He goes, I'm a Virgo, just like you.
Is that a characteristic of Virgo? You guys are never late?
We are never late. We are
What month is that?
perfectionists. September.
Okay.
My birthday is September. I'm not telling all these people listening when my birthday is. I don't want to do that. But it's in September. I'll just say that.
So you're right before Scorpio then?
Yes.
Right. My brother was September 19th.
Yeah.
And I got Scorpio, then Sagittarius.
I'm very close to your brother-in-law. That's all I'll say.
All right.
Where do you get all this energy from? Man, you're the Energizer Bunny. Where does this come from?
There's somebody told me this a long time ago. I never forgot it. Movement is life. My wife says to me, don't you ever want to get off the third floor in our building? I said, no. She goes, don't you get tired of carrying all that gear up there? I said, I go up those stairs about 10, 12 times a day. And I run up those stairs. I drive, but I don't drive. We walk I walk to the grocery store. I walk here, because in the city you can walk everywhere. You don't have to drive. I don't I get in my car to leave town.
Mm.
That's it. I got the subway in front of my house. So when you're walking and you're climbing stairs and you're moving and you are cleaning and keeping things organized, carrying gear and playing. When I'm on stage, I keep it moving, and 5-6 nights a week getting that exercise on stage. Movement is life. And if you live somewhere where you're not really getting a chance to get out there and walk or run, and I try to get out there and walk and run a lot when I can, and I run in the heat when it's like 90 degrees when I go for my jog, because summertime you got to have that stamina. So movement is life. Another thing that same guy told me, goes, for the rest of your life, if you can never sit down while you put your shoes and socks on, that's going to help you tremendously. And I remembered that, because sometimes if I've been overeating for about 4 or 5 days, and
Hmm.
I felt changes one a little wider, it's a little harder for me to put my socks on standing up. I'm like, these things like that, it says I don't go to the gym, I just movement is life. And, I think that's very important.
That is funny. I will have to subscribe to that. You had the opportunity to travel the world because you play this music that people want to hear.
Hmm.
What is the biggest advantage to seeing everywhere? I mean, I've always told people, like, for example, the Dave Koz cruise was just a couple of weeks ago. A couple of people I've talked to, I said, don't worry about me. I'm gonna be here. Go enjoy yourself. Have a good time. But when you're I told Nathan East, take pictures, create a book of all the places you've seen. His son Noah's like, yeah, Dad, that's a great idea. What's an advantage of seeing the world at a relaxed place? I mean, you could play at night, but during the day, it's all yours. You do what you want to do.
One of the things that I'm sorry but not sorry for was I just did my first tour international in 1990. So it's 35 years ago. And I never was a camera person. I never was a camera guy. I would, other people were. So I can remember when they would send pictures to me, like they develop, maybe make doubles so they could give a picture that they had of me and them, the him, and he would keep. So I have some pictures. But I remember so many of these places in my head. But in those 35 years, I can tell you, I traveled a lot, and I've always been a touring musician. That's what I love, number one. And we would do a month on the road, a month home, a month on the road, a month home, month on the road, month home, tour bus, vans, plane tours. Because I came up really in the reggae industry,
Hmm.
working for the Marley family and Shaggy and Maxi Priest and Sean Paul and a million other reggae cats, where we just toured. And I never would have left really the Northeast, anywhere with outside of car distance, if it wasn't for music. I still never travel anywhere unless I'm traveling for a show. Never, ever. A vacation to me is staying here in New York, going to the park, a barbecue, going on the block, going down to Rockaways to the beach. That's vacation to me, seeing my family. But traveling the world is important. And I'll never forget, I've been to Africa about 8 times, playing in certain places in Africa when they're so grateful, and especially a long time ago when there was no internet and people couldn't see the rest of the world like we can now. A lot of people in countries would say, thank you for not forgetting us and coming to visit us. We're so grateful you traveled so far to bring your music. And I was like, thank you for receiving us so well. And I'm grateful because, there's a lot of beautiful places out there, and there's a lot of beautiful people in the world. And in the world right now, where there's so much division,
Mm.
I don't forget how so many of us forget that we all bleed red. And, our blood, we all have the same blood in our veins. There's so much division. We forget that the decency and humans that we should have for each other. Now, I know there's rules and there's laws and all of that too. Yeah. But at the end of the day, we have to be mindful of our brothers and sisters. So traveling the world has just been a beautiful thing. I never get tired of it. I'm a good traveler. I'm on about 150 flights a year. I'm a good traveler. I get on and I have my things that I do. And unlike you, don't like to travel.
No, not at all. Not really. No.
You don't like the plane. How tall are you? Are you a tall guy?
No, I am in the program. I'm 5'11". In real life, I'm 5'9.5". You wear basketball shoes, you gain height, but no,
Sure.
I am. So my daughter just got a job. She's a flight attendant, so flights will increase.
Which
But
airline?
American.
Okay. Okay.
So she's based in Charlotte.
Okay. Busy
So
airport.
we flew from here to Charlotte. It's like an hour and 5 minute flight
Up and down. Yeah.
up and down. I just can't relax. You know what I mean? I can't. I sit up straight. And I think part of that is because flew to Los Angeles, there's turbulence on the way out. What am I going to land on? The mount? I don't want to do that. But coming back, the turbulence was horrible.
Oh,
Horrible. I won't mention the airline, but my fingerprints are in the seat in front of me because I am clamped on.
oh man.
And I'm like,
That was one of those flights.
right.
Yeah.
And so as I say, I pray for four, two takeoffs and two landings. That's all I want.
Yep.
And then for a while, I worked for Cleveland State University's basketball program, and we flew. So you got to be calm because you're with 15 kids under the age of 18.
Who
And
aren't a season just traveling. So they get nervous.
exactly.
Yeah.
So I've tried to increase my technology. I bring I have a Kindle. I bring that. I watch movies. I listen to music. Um, I'm an avid solitaire player and free cell player. Um, but to me, and I wonder sometimes, I have worked very hard, a lot for 50 years. There are times when we went on a cruise a few years ago and everybody was downstairs having fun. And where's Darrell? Darrell is out on the balcony with a giant bowl of fruit, a giant drink, and a book,
Relax.
watching water.
Relaxing.
Exactly. And that's what I need because I know how I am. But enough about me.
Oh, but you know what's funny you say that because when my mother and father were in their retirement years and they decided that they wanted to start doing some traveling, my mother would want to fill up this. We're going to see 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 this. My father was the opposite. He goes, leave me at the coffee shop. I'm going to have a glass of wine. I'm going to sit. I'm going to relax. I'm going to people watch. I'll meet you later.
Right.
I'm a little bit more like that too because there's a lot of go in everyday lives of
Right.
doing things that I don't mind, chilling out. And I want to just touch on one other quick thing and then we'll move on that you mentioned. You told me you're an avid solitaire player. Yes?
Yes, very much so.
You ever play double solitaire?
No.
You got to play double solitaire. You need two decks of cards, two players. You play facing each other. You play as you normally would, but as your aces go up, either player can play on that ace, whether it's your ace or their ace. So eventually there'll be 8 aces up there that either of you can play off of. Now you can only play off your cards in front of you, but as you go to put aces up, you can play off at any ace. So the first one to finish wins. If you get stuck, whoever has the most cards wins. A lot of fun.
I will have to look into that. Man, that sounds nice.
It's fun, and my wife and I play all the time. And it's not this. You don't have to teach the rules. If you play with somebody who plays solitaire, you already know the rules. You just put your aces up, and if you put your ace of diamonds and I have the 2 of diamonds, I can put mine on your ace, etc. Fun game.
Nice. Okay.
Get back to me after you play,
I will have to do that.
and then you can even play triple with 3 decks and
See,
quadruple. But it's 2 months.
yes. I read something where it said that you wanted to put an album, a CD, a project out every year. That's a lot of work. How's that going?
Well, the reason I said that, and I still feel the same way, is because I have about 50 songs ready to go right now that are sitting there. And then I haven't even been writing as much because they have so many songs. When I start writing, I write a lot of songs. So the artist side of me wants to give the public 10 songs per year at least. Well, at this rate, I can't write any songs. I'm tied up for 5 years if I was going to wait. But the problem is when you produce a new CD record, whatever we call it these days, body of work, that it's important to press a CD because there are some people that still want to take something home. First of all, it's a good marketing tool. Second of all, yes, it can create some revenue. And third of all, it's doesn't really cost that much because when you make a record, all of your expenses are fixed into that budget.
Mm-hmm.
Paying the musicians, mixing, mastering, photography, all of that is fixed in. Your product is done. Now, if you're going to go out and press CDs, it's what it costs to press, and when you sell them back, you're going to recoup after 100 of your press of 1,000. Then you can give the rest of them away. So I stopped until my inventory is gone. I'm not going to press the CDs now because what was happening was I was starting to press so much, or I did a couple of year, and I still had leftover inventory. So I'm treating the press the CD of 1,000 as you have art that says this is number 17 of 132.
Right.
I'm looking at it like these CDs are 1,000. When the inventory is gone, a new record is coming out. So you got to get it while it's there because it's never okay. Get it again.
All right.
So what happened was when I pressed this current CD, which is called Soul Energy, I was with a booking agent at the time, and unfortunately, he didn't really fill up my calendar as much as I had hoped for. So I'm got all these boxes and a big smile, ready to hit the streets with nowhere to go. So I got backed up on that inventory. So now I'm sold out, and I got about 30 left that I've been holding on. But we're putting out a new CD hopefully by the end of the year. When I get down to that last 50 or whatever, new CD time, put it out because I have the music. It's just foolish to continue to press, and then people want your CD when you're on tour. Where's your new CD? That's what I want.
Yes.
It doesn't make sense to carry a lot of product with you, So we'll see.
All right. So as we get ready to come close to wrapping up now, what are you working on right now that we can look forward to?
Well, I have this new CD, which is upcoming. It's called Conversations, and it has Keep Your Head Up. It has Love Can't Wait, which is my last radio single. It has Stomp Your Feet, which was a deep cut I put out. It has Keep It Moving, which is another song, was the first song. So I have 4 songs that have released already. And trying to narrow down with what I have and what may write for the final 6, because I don't put more than 10 songs on a CD anymore. You remember when CDs came out, there were like 20 songs on a CD? Like, whoa, because you could fit it. And you know what I didn't realize? Not the subject jump, because people were asking me about vinyl. And I said, you know what? I'm going to press some vinyl. So I went to press one of my CDs on vinyl, and it had 48 or 52 minutes of music. The company says it's too much minutes for vinyl. The optimum is about 38 minutes. So you could really do 35 to 45 minutes because of the length, the spacing of the grooves, the quality, the audio. Mm-hmm. If you put too many minutes, the spacing's tighter, the fidelity is not the highest quality. So I didn't want to edit any of the existing songs, and I didn't want to leave any off because I wanted to release a full body of work because they're in order for a reason. So I never really realized that, but it's very interesting. So I'm going to put out a greatest hits piece of vinyl, which is going to have 4 songs on side A and 4 songs on side B. Old school, greatest hits. And, that'll sell that. We're going to put that out in 2026 or maybe at the end of this year. And then we're also going to finish Conversations, which is probably going to come out beginning of next year. Nice. And then lots of touring, continuous touring. I'm going to be everywhere. And, I'm always, if you're in New York, you got to find JJ because I'm always here when I'm not on the road.
Okay. All right, man. Greatly appreciate it. So one last question. you got to have a social media presence because, everybody's trying to find you and everything. So how can we find you on social media? Are you on Facebook? Are you on Instagram? What's going on?
So pretty much everywhere, but JJ Sansaverino is my website. Always has my up to date calendar. Everything is up to date on there. I micromanage that weekly. Of course, Facebook, because our Smooth Jazz family is very heavily involved with Facebook. It's such a great tool to reach people. I have a great group called JJ Friday Night Live that gets a lot of updates other people don't get on Facebook. Of course, Instagram. I'm on Spotify and all those, and a little bit on YouTube, but primarily I'm posting daily on Facebook,
Cool.
Instagram, and on my website.
All right, sir. We will add you to our social media so we can keep up with you. And anytime you put anything new out, please let us know. We'll put it out there for people to see. JJ Sansaverino. You always when I set up these interviews, I never know what to expect, and I try never to have expectations. It's all about a conversation. I try to make people laugh. We have a good time, and that's what it's all about. This has definitely been that. We will be in touch. We will stay in touch. And if you're ever in the Cleveland area, let me know. If I'm ever up in New York, I'll let you know. And if nothing else, we just need to hang out.
Brother, let me tell you, I'm going to be back in Akron because Blue Jazz treats me relatively well there. And we were there in March, had a great show. And they're like, we want you back. I said, let's do it again next March. March 26th. I'll give you a way heads up on it.
Thank you, sir. I'll be there.
We'll put a little time in there. And might try to play this place called Icon, which is in Columbus, I think. I'm not sure if you're familiar with that.
Okay. I'll look for it.
March. Yes, sir.
JJ, thank you very much. We appreciate you being on the show. Ladies and gentlemen, you've been listening to the Jazz Flyte Podcast. I am Darrell Scott. The hope is that you join us next week. If you really liked what you heard today, be sure to hit the subscribe button. We will talk to you next week. Thank you for tuning in to the Jazz Flyte Podcast. I hope you enjoy these stories and soulful melodies that grew through the doors of time. If you want to stay connected with the latest updates and episodes, don't forget to subscribe to my channel and hit the notification bell. Until next time, I'm Darrell Scott.